Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds. It's time to talk about house rules.
Custom Commander rules.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, BZ, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, bringing you new videos every single day with an extra thrown in there.
Yes. If you would like to become a patron and support us directly and scroll with the scrolling people on screen right now, you can head over to patreon.com and become a patron just like Steve, what is that? Paquito, right? Pacito? I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Steve Paquito, it's your video.
Or Steve Pacito, this video is yours.
Yes.
And there's two people out there that are both going, this video is mine.
Yeah, there's Steve Paquito and Steve Pacito, and they're totally both loving this video.
You can use TCGPLAYER to get away from what we were just saying and indirectly support us by buying the cards you were going to buy anyway. Just go to the site through the link in the description, check out, and magically we get money. That isn't yours.
Yes, that is an affiliate link. That means you use our link and we get money for you buying stuff at that website. We have two more of those.
Name one more.
Yeah. First one, Dragon Shield. You've heard this one a million times, and we still love them. Best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
Literally, the sleeves we use in every single one of our decks. We should just use our link to go there, buy them, and get them shipped to your house. EU and US link in the description. Also, one more we're throwing in here for these videos, IntoTheAM. You'll be seeing us wearing these shirts every video going forward. So if you ever want one of the shirts you're going to see in our future videos, guess what? Head over to IntoTheAM and buy those shirts using our affiliate link that's here at the bottom.
For 10% off. Now, we can go to our actual sponsor, Moxfield. The ad's somewhere. You're not going to be able to guess where it is. And happy birthday to everyone whose birthday is today.
Yes, and for everyone who ever complains we do too much of this stuff in the beginning, our videos still begin before the 2 and the max. The max I've ever seen is a 3-minute mark. So you want to complain about that? I don't care. Let's get into the video.
You calling them out makes the video take longer to start.
Doesn't matter because we're still under 2.5 minutes.
We're still under that. We got to define house rules before we talk about house rules.
Of course.
Usually it's just any rule agreed to be used by everybody in the game that isn't in the actual rules for Commander falls under Rule 0, which is a rule which basically says do whatever you want. This format's designed for fun first and foremost. And a lot of these rules are designed to increase fun.
Yeah, Rule 0 is the rule that says you can do anything in Commander if all players agree to it. It kind of is a rule that exists in all games ever. If you sit down to play any game and you're not in a tournament setting for that game, then you can set any custom rules that all players agree to. That always exists. But for Commander, it is key and is even listed within the actual rule set because it is such a key component to this game.
It's recommended to just dive outside the standard and just kind of have some fun.
Now, something that BZ mentioned to me, I was like, house rules aren't really that common. And then outside of play groups, and then BZ made a good point. Every time we go to events, we do some custom rules. Now, I'm not going to go into specifics, but like when we sit down at the table, there's always at least one custom rule that we adhere to almost every single game. So the first thing we're going to do.
Well, the first thing I got to do is shout out an honorable mention because I noticed there was one house rule not on this list. It's never lupus. That was the one I thought that we maybe left out, but we don't need to go into that too much.
So here for the first one, something that me and BZ do sometimes, and I kind of wish we did it every time, but I kind of forget because it's not an official rule. And I wish this was an official rule because it is something that actually lets you make going first not strictly better. And it is what we call the SCRY rule. And that is whatever your position is at the table, so you're 1, 2, 3, 4 in turn order, you take that, you -1 from that, and you get to SCRY that many before the game begins.
So the first person to go scries 0, then the next person that would go scries 1, then the third person to go scries 2, and the last person to go scries 3, makes keeping hands, smoothing out draws much easier. It makes it so that the person going first isn't at a just literal advantage over everybody else.
Yes, and also something about, like you said, it's a literal advantage. It does something to close that gap at least a little bit. Now, there will always be the advantage to going first. It is a huge advantage. I've tried to keep track of like some games, but like, I see it a lot where that going first makes all the difference in the world. Like it literally decides the game, and it's tough to notice because as the game progresses, you lose the focus of who went first and what actually happened. Believe me, it probably decides a lot more games than you think it does.
Right. So if you insert the SCRY rule, that sort of happens less, and now the delta of the first person who wins gets moved down with the other 3.
Yeah, it scales to the worst position you have.
Yeah.
Though if you have the worst position, you start the game with a SCRY 3, which is obviously, that's pretty powerful. It's powerful to give for free, but the whole goal is to try and close the gap between first and last.
Right. I think that will just add to more fun. It makes the games that much more even. Really not even that hard to remember. It's not like the most complicated rule. It's you scry n-1, right, as your turn number.
Yep, exactly. It is pretty simple to actually remember. Next, this is super common, and it's custom mulligans, and this encapsulates a lot of things, and a lot of people do this. If you do any form of mulligan that isn't, one free and then draw 7, put 1 on the bottom after that, and then 2 on the bottom if you go to another one. If you don't do anything that's not that includes extra free mulligans, showing your hand if it doesn't have certain lands. There's a million ways to do free mulligans. Now, the thing that me and BZ usually do is if we go to events and we sit down and we just say, hey, let's just mulligan until we have playable hands, as long as we're playing non-combo decks, usually.
Yeah, see, I almost want to get away from this one a little bit because I think, I'll explain that later, but this really is, I think, problematic if you're not having a Rule 0 conversation. If anybody's rocking fast mana that includes Soul Ring and combos that includes critical mass combos, this kind of can tank the game. So as long as you're on the same page of like, nobody's going to play a 4-drop on turn 2, then mulliganing until you have a functional hand is not harmful, but you can be when there's going to be like twice as many Soul Rings in the game. I'm not about to do that. But I think it's almost like a little bit of a get-out-of-jail-free card. Like if I'm trying to test a deck and I screwed up and I didn't put the right number of lands in, if I just mulligan infinitely until I have a playable hand, I'll never even notice. But I want to kind of maybe fall back on this until I know that my deck is built the right way and like a way that will function outside of this, because I want to have the right numbers. But well, you could play 20 lands in a deck and still do this.
Something that's really interesting about this is that we have tools now, right? Because you're talking about that being something, if doing infinite free mulligans can cause that mistake. We have tools that tell us how many we should have in our opening hand, and with that, we can kind of determine what we want and what we should have. The thing, we're going to have the confirmation bias of like, yeah, even if we play 100 games with our deck, it's tough to get the actual numbers of what you need. So it's better to go by actual statistics of what you're supposed to draw.
But it does reward, let's call it bad deck building.
Greedy.
You just like take out 5 spells for 5 lands, or take out 5 lands for 5 spells, and if you're mulliganing forever, it doesn't notice. So
yes,
try to like build your decks that you don't need this rule and then do the rule.
Don't con the system, I guess, is the way to go, right?
Yeah.
It's like the system isn't there to be conned.
It's not a crutch. It's just a way to speed things up.
It's a way to make the game more fun for everybody.
So one person doesn't sit out.
And if you take advantage of the rule, that's kind of mean, right?
Right. So like these rules mostly designed to help people play.
Yeah. The custom mulligan rules are always to either A, speed things up, or make sure everybody plays.
Yes.
Up next is something much more common within play groups, but you can do it at tables. I've seen players take like stuff out of the deck before a game starts. Custom ban list. This one's really simple. Everyone agrees that we don't play X, Y, Z, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Fast Mana.
Cyclonic Rift, Counterspell.
Cyclonic Rift, Counterspell. Anything can be put on a custom ban list. It's literally any card, not on the actual ban list, that your group agrees to not play with. It's about tailoring the experience to the kind of games you're looking for. So if you're not looking for games to just end with one big spell, it's easy to go, hey, soft ban or hard ban Expropriate, hard ban Tooth and Nail. These are the kind of cards that can just end the game for 9 mana, and if you're not looking for that sort of feel, you can just ban them out, and that's what a custom ban list is. I mean, we have a soft ban essentially in our group at this point on Expropriate, right? Because I was the only one who ever played it, and everyone basically said that card's unfun, and I took it out with I guess it was soft bans from me because I kept putting it in every deck.
I think another way to do this is to ban for how much time you have to play games. If you maybe only meet up once a week, your play group for a game, and you only have like 5 hours. Well, I'd maybe want to squish the games down to like 30 to 45 minutes so you can play more games. And in that case, maybe you want to soft ban those time walks.
Sometimes custom ban lists go to commanders, because I know in our play group, we have pushed back against some commanders that are extremely frustrating. Turgid being one of them that we've just pushed against, and it's basically customly banned, and now my friend plays Tiny Bones in its place.
Yeah, and if you want Amber on the screen, there's a custom rule for that too.
Yes. Next is using any card that isn't technically legal in Commander or legal as a Commander. So what this encapsulates to start with is, say you make a custom card you want to play with it, and everyone agrees with it, that can be done. That's less common, but something more common is to take a card like, let's just say, what is the enchant land that's 5 colors?
Genju of the Realms.
Genju of the Realms. It's technically not a legal commander, but people will let you play it, especially if you just go, hey, I have my Genju of the Realms deck. It's like, yeah, you can play that.
How about the Nephilim?
The Nephilim.
The original progenitors of this whole thing.
Exactly. So using things that technically aren't legal commanders as commanders, I'm sure if anybody had a Planeswalker and they said they wanted to play as their commander, I would just say yes.
Yeah, like Griselda, Monster Masher, like Baron Von Count. There's a bunch of like pretty tame uncards too that don't break the game wide open that you can easily use.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about, like, again, it's everyone agreeing upon it. Playing custom commanders it's just a super common rule. People build decks like just to do this. Like they build a deck not knowing if they'll have someone to play with, and then they just ask, "Can I play my, Deck and Blackblade deck?" And you're like, "Yeah, why not?" Well, not Deck and
Deck and Shadowslayer.
Shadowslayer, yeah, because Deck and Blackblade is a legal commander. Shadowslayer, not as much.
Yes. Next one, no combos, no tutors. This is also probably a Nitpicking Nerds unspoken rule. We're just kind of sick of them. It's not like we don't ever want to play them again. It's just like we did it. We had really high power decks for a long time, and now we're toning it back to more combat centered, and we like it right now where we're at. I imagine in 2 years, maybe we'll be back up to playing critical mass combos and stuff.
Yeah. For me, what this custom rule really does, especially the no combos half of this, it really makes me feel like each decision tree matters a little more. Each attack, like if I have 5 damage I can deal to any player, it feels like that matters because 5 damage could be the difference between that player winning and losing the game. That's a little different for combo decks, and that's a fine, different experience, and there's nothing wrong with that one as well, but that's what I really like about it. And no tutors for me, what that really amps up as a custom rule is it makes each game a little different. Less of the same feels. If you play against decks that have 7 tutors, 8 tutors, you're going to get the same feel over and over again. They're always going to get the same cards. One of the things me and BZ always say is your deck doesn't have 99 tutor targets. No. It has 5 tutor targets, and which one is the best for this situation?
It'll make you see those 5 cards a lot more of the time. Your best removal spell, your best card draw spell, your best threat, like etc. So we like to do those to increase some variance and lead to less irrelevant actions that kind of ended up not mattering at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Something like my feeling that I often get during games ending combos, even critical mass combos, is there would be 7 turns, 8 turns leading up to the game, and then all of a sudden, it's just over. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter who I attacked or what I did. It was just over because they had a 3-card combo.
Yeah, we can talk more about that in another video,
yes,
perhaps.
Definitely.
The next one, helping land screwed people draw lands. This is just kind of to prevent people from not playing the game. Nobody really wants to sit around for 45 minutes doing nothing. So if you decide some kind of specific rule of like, if you miss 2 land drops, you can skip your draw step and draw a land instead or something. Like if you have a steadfast rule that people can just lean back on, that's always fine. Sometimes it just results in like, even it like takes the form of, oh man, they missed a land drop 3 times. Just go find a land.
This is one of the Nitpicking Nerds. Wow, we just use this one a lot. Whenever someone keeps a sketchy hand and they miss a land drop or 2, what I usually do is I look at the top of their deck and I go, and I just look until I find like 1 or 2 lands and I put them on top for them. You can do it however you want. I mean, you could just tell them to search for a land in place of their draw because it helps, make the game go smoother and it makes it more fun for everyone, right? Because everyone's actually playing, interacting in the game. A lot of our custom rules that we use are to get people to play and interact more because something that actually even the no combo one and no tutors one is it makes like people who don't build the strongest decks, some of our friends build jankier decks, participate in more of the games because they're not getting comboed out on.
Yeah, there's also the concept of like 3-player commander, way different and way less stimulating than 4-player commander. So like when you have somebody who just gets screwed, it becomes a really awkward 3-player game. The person who gets screwed is stuck in it the longest, and they're going to earn a solid silver medal.
Yeah, exactly. It does change the game a lot. So I like letting the land screwed person find lands.
And you don't want to if you keep a sketchy hand, you should get punished. You kind of like deserve to get punished.
You let them get punished.
But it's like, does that mean you shouldn't play the game and you should sit around for 45 minutes? No. Can I just say, hey, keep better hands. Here's a land.
Yes, for this rule, the way that we basically use this rule is we do let them get punished. It's not like when they miss 1 land drop, they get something. It's like they miss 2, 3 land drops, and they're far behind. Now they go get their land, and they get to like kind of catch up and play the game with us.
Like it's something. So what's the next one?
One of my favorite custom rules overall has to be that everyone has to build their decks on the best deck building website of all time, Moxfield.com.
That's interesting.
It is super interesting, but when people don't use it, they honestly aren't getting the most out of a deck building website that they can get. Moxfield.com provides you with so many stats about your decks. We talk about how they tell you how many lands will be in your opening hand. Literally, we were mentioning that earlier in the video, how it's more useful to take the stats of how many lands will be in your average opening hand than to draw 100 opening hands and then and then mathematically do it. You can't ever draw enough hands to get the actual data. Guess who can? Moxfield.com can.
Yeah, we talked about reducing variance, making the games more fun for everybody. But when I have all the tools available to me to build the deck exactly the way I want without any statistical oversights, that's when I have the most fun.
Yes.
That's Moxfield.com.
And when people ask me to help with their decks and they send me to another deck building website, I'm like, can you please put this on Moxfield? Not as an advertisement, but because it lets me visually look at it way better. Way better. Like, it has so many different ways to view it, and the grid lets me actually look and visualize it way easier than any other site. Someone sent me to another site, and I was like, please put this on Moxfield. I can help you if I can see it on Moxfield. The next one is custom infect / custom commander damage. When I was doing research for this video on some of the house rules, this is one of the ones I saw the most. People really, and now I disagree with this one. People really think infect at 10 is too low. Infect cards kind of stink, and it's really hard to actually infect someone out. It's actually a challenge and a hoop to go through, other than Triumph of the Horde's the one exception where it's but that's just a strange overrun effect.
Even then, you can sub it in for any overrun, and it's similar.
So people like changing infect from either 10 to 20 or 10 to 15, depending on it. Also, a lot of people remove commander damage. That's a common way to go. We just remove commander damage from the game, and it's just not part of it. Or you lower it. I saw a custom rule for somebody. They said if anybody does 15 damage with a commander in one turn, that's an auto kill. I think that was interesting.
To a player?
Yeah. If your commander ever does 15 damage in one turn in combat to a player, it's a kill.
Okay, so it doesn't stack over time.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you just have to do it one big chunk at a time, which is a different way to play. As with all these rules, it's about customizing the game to be enjoyable to the group playing the game. So if infect is something that bugs your whole group, yeah, change it. It's a rule. Even though I disagree with it and I don't think it is a problem, if it bugs your group and your group is fine changing it, 2 thumbs up, change it.
Solid. Another rule of Commander is that the wish cards don't function. They really don't work. Searching for cards outside the game, there aren't any, except for the fun ruling of companions. I don't know where they are. You don't have a sideboard, and there's no cards outside the game, but you have a companion zone. I don't care. But wish boards can be a thing if everyone just says they're a thing. Bring your 10 card, 15 card, whatever sideboard, and now you can access cards outside the game, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, wish boards are fine, but they're not legal in Commander, nor currently with the current ban list could they be, because it causes huge issues. If wish boards are actually legal in Commander, the real issue with it is Countering the Great Creator needs to be banned.
That is true.
Because every deck just runs Countering the Great Creator, Michael Lattice in the board, and
it's free.
And that would not be a fun thing. Every single Commander deck gets that for free. Regardless of that, if people aren't abusing that, wish boards are kind of fine, right? They're not overpowered. They're not OP. You just kind of get to put some stuff outside of your deck and build this little wish board. I think it's really cool. How I would make it is I'd make it a 5-card wish board. I would make it so
5, yeah.
Well, yeah, so it's got to be low. You're not getting a 15-card wish board, and I know they do 7 on Arena. That could be the number 2.
It is best of 1.
7 or 5 is probably the number I would go with, where it's you're limited. You can come up with this good stuff to search for and get out of your board, but you are still limited.
How much does Sponsor of Ulamog spike in price if wish boards become legal?
Really funny.
That's the coolest weird card.
It is a really, really cool card. I actually saw one of the, again, doing research for this video, one of the custom funny things I saw is they have wish boards. They allow wish boards, basically infinite size wish boards. So it's you can get
it's what your collection.
It's basically your collection, but for Sponsor of Ulamog, they have a pile of Eldrazi.
That's just a stack.
It's just a stack. Everyone can,
it matters.
That everyone can grab. You can get all. Basically, you just grab all the Eldrazi and put them on your side. It's a silly thing.
That's pretty good. Let's go to hybrid mana. This is repeatedly talked about, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it because we kind of personally just don't care, and we don't think the hybrid mana needs to be allowed to. Let's say if you have a green-white hybrid card, can you play it in a mono-white deck? I think it's fine that you can't. I think it makes total sense. But some people are really upset by that. But guess what you can do? I mean, it's not saying that it's legal, but you can just play with it if you want to and say the hybrid cards can be either or both, whatever floats your boat. Yeah,
this is kind of one that I don't care what the rule is. But I understand that let's just take a card. We need something. Blade Historian, right?
Yeah.
It's a red and a white card, so you can only play it in Boros decks or decks that have Boros within the color identity. But for this custom rule, the whole idea would be you can play this in a mono red deck or you can play it in a mono white deck. Do I think it's a good idea? I honestly think the rule could be either.
I think it's fine as it is, but if you want to jam, this is one of probably the most common ones.
Yeah, I think it's fine. If like it's one of the most common ones that people really like. I also, like I said, I think if the rules committee changed this tomorrow, I'd be like, that's fine. Yeah, it's totally reasonable. It gives people access to more cards to play in a lot of different decks. Cool. Totally a cool thing. I'm Hybrid Mana is a nice little switch, and I think people just want to play some of those cool cards, and they don't want to build the specific combo color deck. Like, let's just think of those of like the 3-color legends from
Fate Reforged, like Tasigur?
Well, the new one, that's Fate Reforged is one of them. But also, what I actually was thinking in my head was the 3-color legends just from New Capenna, where they have all the hybrid costs. It's like, you could just play those in a monocolor deck because they cost all of one color. But you can't actually because of the rules. So that is a cool change you can make.
Yes. Number 10, I promise every single person watching this video has done at some point, and we do it every once in a while. Takesies, backsies. I like that they're called that, even though the name, maybe we should think of a better name because it sounds kind of insulting. But takesies, backsies is just when you make a mistake that's on board, obvious, like, oops, I did the wrong thing, I wasn't thinking, or I messed up, or I misclicked. You can just undo it. It's basically an undo that doesn't ruin the game.
Yeah, it's like say, for example, there's a 4/4 creature on the board, but there's an Elder Storm pumping it to a 6/6, and you go to dismember the 4/4 thinking it's a 4/4. We're just going to let you take that back.
You need double black, and you played a forest. Well, okay, just take it back.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, can I not play my land for turn? I actually wanted to play a different land. Yeah, sure. There's a million ways to do this. I like, what Takesies backsies means to me is when we're taking the game to the extra casual. It's like, let's just play casual. Let's have fun. Who cares if you make a mistake? Oh, I could have attacked for 10 more damage if I had tapped better. It's like, then tap better. It's like, just fix the tapping. I do it all the time where I'm like, is it all right if I fix my tapping? It's like, for some reason, I just didn't tap the swamp. I tapped my underground sea instead. I don't know why I would ever do that.
Yeah, for me, I like to limit this to on-board mistakes to undo because, like, you know, if they make a move and then I go, like, kill your creature, they're like, well, I didn't know you were going to kill that creature. I want to do something else. Like, no.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. This is all about, like, you did something that most of it's like, I think this will have an effect. But
it's not regrets. It's not undoing regrets.
It's not undoing regrets. It's undoing, like, I'll cast this board where it's like, what? The only person with creatures is them, and they have Selfless Spirit. You don't want to do that.
It's like, oh, you're right. I don't.
And you just let them take it back. Just casual. Play casual. Takesies backsies is one of the most common. Like, it's not a spoken rule, but it's one of the most common rules. Like, people just do it because it's a casual format.
Same with the next one. No missing triggers, which just means if anyone notices a trigger gets missed, you just apply it instead of asking the opponents, would you like to put this trigger on the stack, and them saying no.
Yeah. Casual, you're just going to not let people miss triggers. Like, I miss a lot of triggers. It's one of BZ. We'll tell you for sure.
I've remembered more of Joe's triggers than Joe.
I don't think that's true. But I have missed a lot of triggers. I was playing a Nezahal game where Nezahal didn't die all game, and I missed probably like 10 triggers, and I remember 30, but there was like 40 triggers for Nezahal that game. It literally drew like that many cards, and like I would just be like, hey, you cast that last turn. It's all right if I draw, and they eventually just like, just draw. Who cares? Like, we're playing for fun, and Nezahal's already winning by itself anyway.
Eventually, Joe's missed triggers just wear you down, and you go, just have it. I don't really want to keep track anymore. If there's ever a Shuffle Scuffle episode where we build decks for each other, Joe's getting the deck with triggers.
Does that mean I get Ristic Study?
No.
But it has triggers.
You'll remember those.
It has the most triggers of like any card.
I'll get some more.
Smothering Tide, that's the other one with, like,
you're going to get all the Forgotten Ancients.
Why do I
like a little something?
Yeah, Forgotten Ancients is a good card. I like that card.
Not with you, it's not.
It's still a great card.
Only with rule number 11.
Up next, this is one. Now, I wouldn't even put this on here, okay? Usually. But I saw someone else who had a very similar and funny thing. So on Shuffle Scuffle, one of our custom rules is you draw all of your tokens. You have to. If your deck makes a token, you draw it on Infinite Tokens, #not sponsored. Hilariously, though, I saw someone else who did this. If you have a card that makes a token, and they don't have it drawn in their token pile already, you now, being the first one who made it, draw the token for everyone else to use forever.
Ooh.
I thought that was also really cool. It's like, this is obviously like an out there weird rule that not many groups do, but like, I try and make people draw their tokens even when they have them. Like, come on, draw them. It's way more fun. And I think it's a silly little thing that makes the game a little more fun.
Definitely more unique.
Definitely more unique. And it's like, you just have to draw whatever silly things you do. And like, some of our friends don't like doing it. So like, if they use the Infinite Tokens, they write like Elf 2/2. It's like, boo, boo.
Okay.
It's like, I don't care. I'm a terrible artist. Like, art, like drawing art, painting, that kind of stuff, not my forte. I will draw a crappy little spider with like little legs all day, and it'll look stupid and silly. And then I'll just remember the cute ones. That, like 2 days later, I'm like, oh, remember when I drew that little spider and it was really cute.
Yeah, I think you like had to go do something, so I like drew goblin tokens for you, but they were just like ugly, hideous looking things. And it's like, well, if you just used a 1/1 goblin, you wouldn't have gotten that like laughter moment of like, oh my god, this is really gross.
Infinite Tokens, and again, this isn't even a sponsorship for Infinite Tokens. We do love the product, but Infinite Tokens, I think I actively do not use any other tokens because I find them so fun to make.
They're also just convenient. I mean, this isn't really not an ad for them, so we can move on to the next one.
Yes, and it's the last one, and it's starting with the Monarch / the initiative in the middle, meaning the first person that deals combat damage to any player either takes the initiative or becomes the Monarch, whichever you choose.
Now I think they're both pretty interesting because the initiative is like not a full card, but then in the end it's like way better than a card, and the Monarch is just always a card. It might, like, I don't want to really build decks with this in mind because then like 1-drops are the best thing ever, but I just every once in a while saying, want to throw the Monarch in the middle after everyone already decides decks, like sure, why not?
Yeah, obviously, and like the initiative has this weird like strength if you're playing like a dungeon deck or a venture deck already. It's like
cool. It's like started.
It's super cool, but I think that honestly it can add a little bit to the game. This isn't a rule I ever want to do. Personally, I think that it changes the game dynamics a lot and helps certain specific deck types a lot. If you're doing it every time, it's more interesting because, like you said, the decks are now built for it.
Oh, I was saying that was less interesting.
No, see, I think it's more interesting because I think that you want to actually have everyone ready for it instead of just...
Now your decks is built for some random format, and then when you go play at an LGS, you just have a bunch of 1-drops.
Yeah, but, I mean, your deck still might be good. I mean,
probably fine.
How good are Mana Dorks? Mana Dorks are already amazing in this format.
I don't need an excuse to play those.
Yeah, you literally didn't, but now it's that much better because now you just have Mana Dorks. Any more custom rules you could think of real quick off the top of your head?
No.
Okay, well then...
We covered them all.
We did cover every single one, and we've done a bunch of Commander Advice videos, so why don't you go check out, I
10 believe it's 10 lessons Commander players can learn.
10 lessons for Commander players. Check that video out. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.